Hello guys, Jack here and welcome back to Ozymandias. Today we're playing as Egypt on the Sahara desert map on Scholar difficulty. Egypt is rated as a hard civ, and I think this is because most of the room you have to expand is in desert because you're bordered by yellow to the south. And as I'm sure you can imagine, there's not a whole lot going on in deserts. It doesn't give you very much yield and it's expensive to grow into. Furthermore, if you want to do yield upgrades to desert so that it gives you more, they actually cost 100 each, and our food one is actually going to be 125 just because of some of the perks that Egypt has, or I guess in this case, debuff. So anyways, you can kind of get hampered by that being all the expensive stuff. However, if you get lucky and get some good quests and you also beeline it for those yields, you can make it work for you just because you end up with a lot of room with the desert because it's easy to expand in it once you get rolling in it. And then you can kind of make up for the low yields just by sheer quantities. Anyways, you can see here we're fighting with yellow a little bit just for land, and we get lucky, we get the plain and the river tile that I want, and now we're just kind of jockeying for who gets the good tiles to the west. I'm making sure to take all of the easy plains that are available to me. There's not very many rivers, so that's not important. And I'm also trying to get mountains because mountains are expensive, but they give you a lot of gold, and you can use gold for more research or food. I'm also expanding kind of in two prongs, one up along the coastline just because tiles that are along the coast are a little bit cheaper. And then I'm also expanding to the southwest right up against yellow because we're jockeying for position. This is a really good opportunity to get salt mining, $3 per desert. And you can see right there, I go from 17 to 38, 21. That's really good. We also pick up another gold from plains just because we have a few of them. And you can see I'm using all of that gold and spending it on research. And that's really good because with research, you can buy more yield for a tile. And I mean, obviously, just like in everything, economics in every game, if you can get early researches in, their effect is compounded over the whole game. Because of course, if you're getting, one extra gold from your plains, for example, and you get it on turn 5 and the game goes for like 30 turns, well, that's 25 turns of that bonus. Whereas if you wait, 8 more turns to get it, that's a few less turns with that. And of course, any resource you get early on is more worthwhile than later because, you've less tiles early on, and so that tech is amplified. So anyways, with that long-winded explanation, basically it's good to get upgrades. However, the most important thing is getting food. You don't want to upgrade tiles too much. It's much more important to expand your empire early on and kind of carve a niche out for yourself. And then once you get just basically enough, you kind of get the inertia of gold and science that allows you to buy some yields and not affect your food production. And then it just keeps getting more and more and more rampant, and it's really good. Anyways, you can see we've done a great job establishing our borders against yellow. We have strong, we've got all the desert we want, we've blocked them into the mountains, we have a strong defensive base, and he's just bought an army and he sent it south because blue also bought an army. So now they're going to be busy fighting each other because if he buys a second army, he's going to send it against the guy that's attacking him to solidify his borders, not against the dude that hasn't caused any trouble. So that is really nice because we have one neighbor and he is ignoring us, which is perfect. So we're allowed to expand in peace. So I'm sure you guys know that Egypt was really powerful in the Bronze Age just because the Nile flooded very regularly and made some very fertile farmland. As you can see in the kind of east of the map where our only city is, or our main city now that we have another one, there's lots of plains, which of course give you lots of food. And of course, with lots of excess food, people become specialized. They can be priests or writers or soldiers or bureaucrats, and then that creates civilization. However, a really interesting fact that I didn't know is that in early history, Egypt was far less arid than it was today and was more savanna-like, and so there'd be much more trees and plants and things like that. So hunting was more of an option for early Egyptians, which I thought was interesting. Not only do they have a great river, they also had a better climate. And it actually kind of exists today because the Sahara Desert is expanding with desertification. Anyways, we've just continued. We've got some great stuff. We've established really strong territory in the west. We're cleaning up some of the remaining territories in the east. I took a couple mountains and I took some ocean territories. We got we could almost make the Suez Canal over there. Anyways, Blue has 2 armies, yellow has 1. Blue's harassing yellow a little bit. Over in the lower left, gray and green are fighting each other, but not too ferociously, and nobody's bothered the Berbers up in the north yet, who are red. We're keeping on our westward expansion, and because cities don't cost more, it's actually really easy to plop them down. And of course, the distance you are from a city increases the cost of a tile. So if you have a city and you're buying a tile directly next to it, I don't think there's any increase in cost, or it's 1. And then if you're buying a tile that's, say, 3 tiles away from a city, well, then the cost of 3 or 4 is added to it. And so once you get a certain distance out, it actually becomes pretty expensive. So that's why it's nice to create almost little outposts. And of course, cities have the other benefit of defending an area, projecting power based on their population size. You can see we got all of the mountain techs fully maxed out. And that's really helpful because we actually have a fair number of mountains. Another good thing about mountains that I mentioned before is that they give the defender a +2 power advantage during conflict. So they're a really strong border to have too. You can see there we buy all of the wealth techs just to complete a quest, and now we don't waste wealth. Because of course, if you have, say, 100 wealth at the end of a turn, 100 gold left, and you haven't upgraded at all, I think the base wastage rate is 25%, so you would just lose 25 gold just to, you know, rats eating your gold coins, and, you know, although I think that rat might die after, and people stealing your gold. And so this is helpful because, of course, as you get later in the game, things cost more, and so that affect compounds. We've also started buying armies. I decided to kick the low-hanging fruit. I go for gray because they're not really doing anything. And maybe we can steal some territory from them. And it also has the advantage of taking yellow too. We're cleaning up some more tiles in the north. Basically all of our territory that we're able to take has pretty much been taken. We also complete barracks there, which, as I say every recording, is the most important tech in the game because each power costs less. And of course, the first power, you know, giving each of your unit 1, it costs 5 per unit. And then to give all of your units 2 power, it costs 10 per unit, and etc. So it gets very expensive. And if you have that 1 discount on, it's only 4 and then 8. So, and then 16 instead of 20. And so the effect compounds and it allows you to have quite a bit more power. Also, having just 50% of power wastage is a lot better because I think it starts off at 80% or something, 75. And so you just end up losing so much strength. It's really not worth fighting. In an ideal world, you always want to just go for that power waste before you even start building units, really. Because once you start building units, then the person you're fighting against is going to go, you know, total war and keep pumping units out. And then you're going to want to build units to match them. Here we go. We're fighting. We've got our ship there in a nice little strait. We're going to hopefully take some of their water tiles and maybe harass their city. We also conveniently defeat that. And you can see now I'm pretty big. I'm going to start looking at the win conditions. You can see we Great Lighthouse, Colossus, and Hanging Gardens. Great Lighthouse is spaces, and we only need 2 more for 2 crowns, which is good. And then we can build 3 more armies for another 2 crowns, which is fine because having lots of armies is good because who doesn't like conquering territories, right? And then that's just 3 crowns left to win. And you can see I was circling the ones I wanted to go for, and I figured I'd go for wealth because I got lucky and I got that quest that means wealth isn't wasted, so it makes it a lot easier to build wealth up. You can see having all of the desert yields is really useful because I have more desert than any other tile by far. I also got lucky and got a quest which gave me 1 more gold per desert, so I get 3 gold for desert, which then means, you know, even though I don't have that much, say, food or science yield, I can just use the gold to buy it. So it's good, works out nicely. Buy another army, bring it down there, put them on the borders. The worst thing you do is when you buy an army or an army conquers something and then you forget to move it, so it just sits there doing nothing, especially if you had the food to move it. That's really annoying. I'm also being careful. I'm adjusting my military spending because you don't want to spend too much. Again, like I said, the higher up you go, the more and more expensive it is. So I'm going to start paying, you know, the minimum amount so I can start stockpiling my gold without letting my empire crumble. You can see we've got a good chunk of northern Africa. Got the Levant too. Expanding down towards Namibia. We've got Great Lighthouse and Colossus, obviously, and we just need just under 600 gold. And given the amount we're making, I don't think that's going to be too hard. You can see Gray goes hard on us. They dump a bunch of soldiers and they actually threaten some territory. We might need to call in the reinforcements. I activate my power bonus and I upgrade my population on my cities just so they get a bit stronger. And I send some people over. Unfortunately, that might mean I won't conquer more territory of blue, but blue's busy enough dealing with, well, not really dealing with anything. They're just harassing other people for no reason. You can see I'm spending 20% of my money there, which gives me 3. If I spend a bit less, you might save more, but I wouldn't get to the right amount, so it doesn't really matter. And you can see even with our reduced military budget, we're still taking lots of territory, which is nice. And there you go, we're at 738. So I just adjust it so I make sure I get over 800. I'm going to move my armies around just for the sake of threatening the enemy, you know. And I buy the city power tech there just in case I can conquer that territory. I want to try, but it's fine. Anyways, I think that was a really clean game. Just kind of expanded, and that worked out with the win conditions, and then we saved up for gold, and it was an easy win. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.